Hey friends, it's Dimitri with Rubashka Streetwear. Today I wanted to talk about how to make good decisions for your brand when you don't know what to do. And it's really simple. The way I make decisions is based on two filters, and these two filters, basically, I run all of my decisions through them for the most part when it's applicable. There are instances where it's not really applicable, but for the most part, this is the two things you need to focus on. A, is this good for the product? And B, is this good for the customer? So these are two really large spheres that influence your brand, and they do have some overlap and crossover. So the reason why I start with A, is this good for the product, is because the product is a reflection of your brand, right? If you do not have a product to sell, what brand do you really have? And if you do not have a product with a level of quality that's appropriate to the customer, then you do not have a customer. Because that customer, you know, either they A, won't buy your product, or B, they'll buy it but they won't like it and then they will not return. So then you don't really have a viable business that's going to be able to grow and scale. And that customer as well will either not tell their friends, or if their friends ask about your brand, they'd be like, well, you know, I didn't really like it and it's not going to work out for me. So to focus first on the product, I think, is really important. There is a sort of mantra where a lot of people, and there's lots of YouTube videos about this, where they say that your logo increases the value of your t-shirt. And that is true for some part. Because when you have a blank t-shirt, it's worth, what, $5? When you have a t-shirt with your logo on it, it can be worth 35 bucks. But you have to have, and you have to strive for, a level of quality that is appropriate for your audience base. So obviously there's levels of this, I've explained this. There's, on the lower end, you know, you have something that's decent, it does the job, and generally a lot of people will enjoy it and like it. And then on the far end of the spectrum, you have something that's a luxury blank. It's made out of the best cotton, it has the best employees making it who are really skilled, and it costs a lot to make it. So then the actual retail price of it is exorbitant. So those are things like $100, $200, $300 t-shirts, and plus there's t-shirts that are $500. So obviously most of you are probably not going to be aiming towards that far into the spectrum, but you should be aiming towards a decent level of quality that is appropriate. So I'll give you some examples of questions that you might have, that I have, that lots of clothing brand owners have. So here's one. A, should I choose this manufacturer that's a little bit more expensive, but the quality of their work is better? Or B, should I use this manufacturer that's a little bit cheaper, but their quality of work is so-so, it's not the best? So that's a perfect example of decision where you are using those two filters to make the appropriate decision. So in that case, you would want to opt for the manufacturer that's a little bit more expensive, but the quality is better. And what that does is that translates to A, is this good for the product? Yes, of course. And B, is this good for the customer? Definitely it's good for the customer, because they're gonna get a product that's better quality, they're gonna enjoy it more, and it's gonna last them longer. So what ends up happening is that they like the product, and then they can become a repeat customer or tell their friends and family about it. Another example of a question that you might have is, should I buy this piece of equipment? Let's just say a screen printing press or an embroidery machine. So A, is this good for the product? Yes, it probably will be good for the product, because if you are trying to focus on manufacturing yourself and you buy a piece of equipment that's going to help you to make less defects and have more control over the quality of your product, that's definitely good for the product. Is that good for the customer? Yes, because typically when you're manufacturing things yourself, you are operating at a higher profit margin than getting it made from somewhere else. And what that does is it leaves you wiggle room to have a healthy brand and to not always be raising prices, which is good for the customer. And also, along with that, back to the quality part. If you have tighter control of your quality, then the quality is generally going to be better, and that translates to a happy customer. So those are just some examples of decisions or questions that you might have, and you're just wondering like, hey, what should I do? I don't know exactly which way to go. Should I spend less money on this? Should I spend more money on that? You should always be filtering, for the most part, big decisions through those two filters. If you do that, you're going to be on a way better track for success. If you don't do that, you're going to be struggling and wondering why your brand is not growing. You should always be aiming for better quality or maintaining the same level of quality and customer satisfaction. You're always going towards those 2 points in your business. If you got any value out of this video, or if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks.